everyone. Welcome to another episode from our podcast, Data Over Coffee, when we discuss different topics from data and also what is going on in our careers and that sort of stuff that it could help you to progress in your career and also understand all this data complexity that we're trying to make a simple world between Arjun and myself. Arjun, he's a specialist in QA. Yeah, thank you for that. Because I know that you do many things, so I just want to put I just been disconnected after coming back after holidays, so just connecting back. So sorry.
Still
in
your holiday mode.
Yes, and from my side, I'm Ramon. We work mainly in data, so we'll be discussing this kind of stuff. And today's session is something that I'm quite interested in this session as well, because it's something that we face sooner than later. And sometimes when we go to a uni, nobody prepared much us for this, which is something called requirements gathering, which means that to try to understand before we jump into the code, before we jump to the work, is to discuss what it will be doing and get agreement with stakeholders that something get be challenged, and also to try to understand business context. So Arjun will give it to us today his experience, and also probably he has an extended experience working in the IT field, so he will give it to us experience. And also I will provide you some experience that I have as well. And we'll be touching base a little bit on what the business analyst role it is. So I hope you enjoyed this session and thank you for connecting. If you want to check a bit of Arjun, you can go to his LinkedIn, which will be down here in this video, and also on his website, which is Softcraft Studio, also is down on the bottom. And if you like to know a bit of what I do, you can also go to my LinkedIn or go to my Excel and BI website to discover more. So without further ado, I just want to see, Arjun, how are you doing? How was your holidays?
It was good, man. Pretty relaxing. Didn't go anywhere. Just stayed home. Had a bit of downtime and relaxed between the projects because it's been so busy. So I think, I always prefer staying home than going out. So I'm that kind of person. So if I don't do anything and I'm home, at home I do stuff. I do work. I work on my things. So that is sort of a productive holiday for me. Instead of going out, I feel like going out is too much hectic, and it's like if you're at work, you get tired and stuff, but holidays are for relaxing. And when you go out during the holidays, I feel it's just too much. You're more tired than your normal day.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Gets busy,
Yeah.
but gives you some time to disconnect. But that means 100%. That you are lucky, man, because the thing that means that you love the place where you live, and also you like to be at home doing the things that entertain. And I would like to hear more about those projects that you will working on. So at the end, probably you can tell us what you are working on at the moment. Let's jump into it. And tell me how you deal with this topic. You have a question.
Before we jump in, how was your holidays? What did you do?
My holidays was good. I spent some time in Coromandel, which is something like 100 and something kilometers far away from Auckland, the main capital from New Zealand. The main city from New Zealand. One of the main cities from New Zealand.
One of the main cities, yes.
Yes, it's not even the capital. The
Wellingtonians and Christchurch people will get mad at you.
Yes. Sorry for that. I just say that something around 100 kilometers far away from Auckland, Coromandel, is a peninsula, beautiful beaches, beautiful place, but also has been raining a lot here in the Auckland region. So it wasn't much sunny days and being on the beach. So mainly walkings and runnings and that sort of stuff. Nice. So then I went to Rotorua, which is a beautiful place as well. Something around 100
Smelly.
kilometers far away as well, down into the bottom from.
Smelly, beautiful place. You can smell the
Yes,
sulfur in the air. Yeah.
yes. Is the sulfur is smells quite
Quite
distinct,
strong.
but at the
Yeah.
same time, when you see the landscape, you
Yeah,
pet
it's
it out.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the balance between that. So I've been lucky that I went for a run along the town, and you can see steam coming out from the
Geysers.
yes, no, just from the street. You know, where it's
Oh,
the
okay.
raining pipes.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
there's steam coming out from them. You can see it
Oh.
like clearly, and then, so even if you try to go around the town, you will see there's a park inside. So beautiful. Now I have a good
Yeah.
time off. I have 2 weeks off, and it
Nice.
was good enough to disconnect and recover. And actually, I disconnect a bit from social media and emails and that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
quite happy, man. Quite happy to start this year and see how things are looking up. And I've been working a bit as well during this time, but also working more in doing some partnership with other people to create more projects together. So
Yeah.
it's something that we can touch base later. But yes,
Nice.
no, that was my holidays. Thank you for asking, Arjun. So now it's time to talk about the topic, which is requirement gathering, and what are the
Yeah.
tricks? What are the? I would say would like to start to asking you, what do you think are the good part of having good skills of request gathering? What is the good part? What is the good experience that you have? Then we can speak about the bad part.
I think requirement gathering, the good skill that comes out of requirement gathering is your people skill improve a lot, because when it comes to requirement gathering, you're talking to different stakeholders, understanding their requirements and needs, and so yeah, I mean you talk to different people, so that is one skill that you need, and you improve as you do more and more of it. So I think people skill is one key thing that comes out of requirements gathering. And the other thing is very important. It's how you critically think, right? How you question everything. So from a tester's perspective, right? My brain, or a tester's brain, is wired, I don't know how, but it's somehow wired to identify gaps and the negatives and the because our whole job, our bread and butter, is to see if a system can break, and in how many ways and in what ways can I break the system. Because if it breaks in development, then that means it won't break in production. So that is one ideology that we take every day to our job, that my job is to identify as many bugs as I can, so that when the system goes live, those bugs don't arise, and what the users get is 100% bug free, at least as close to 100% as possible. 100% is not every time possible in software development, but as close to 100% as possible. So I think that is one skill that also is required when it comes to business, when it comes to requirement elicitation, is that how critically you think, because you have to dig deep when you're asking these questions about eliciting requirements. So when you're asking a stakeholder what do they actually need, right, what the system should actually do, this is what requirement gathering is. But your how you will differ than other business analysts would be, how deep can you go into a requirement, how deep can you go into understanding what is actually needed than what is actually conveyed in the first instance. Like for example, I'm working on a website for a grocery store, for example, right? This grocery store, grocery supermarket, can be Pack and Save, Countdown, any. And the business stakeholder gives me a requirement that the website needs to load instantly, right? Now, what does instantly mean? instantly can mean different things to different people. So you have to dig deep. Okay, when you say instantly, are we saying 5 seconds? Are we saying 3 seconds? Are we saying 2 seconds? Are we saying a millisecond? Define it. Like, go as deep as you can, right? So when you say, when a stakeholder gives you a requirement that the user needs to be able to log in into this website. Okay, when we say login, what are the different ways of logging in? Can they log in using their Gmail account? Can they log in using their other maybe Outlook account or anything else, right? If they have a account within the website or within the supermarket system, then when they log in, do they require a password? Do they require a 2FA, two-factor authentication? Do they require different codes? So you have to dig deep into understanding these requirements. Only then you will be able to implement what is actually needed by the business, and it will also reduce the chances of later in the when you have finally worked, or the developers have finished implementing or designing the whole system, and you then take it to the stakeholders for maybe a walkthrough session or something, and then they are like, okay, now this is not what we were thinking. We were thinking maybe we can have this, maybe we can have here, maybe the login button can go here, right? So these issues that later arise can be avoided if you're thorough in your requirement elicitation. So you have to, that is one skill again. So you have to be very careful and very thorough in what you want the stakeholders to give you, because that is what will define the whole scope of the project, and that is what will define what is actually being built by the developers and what is being tested by the testers and what is being delivered to the business. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
I think that the thing that I can summary from there is that the good part of doing requirement gathering for you has been building up the social skills.
Yes,
and
social skills.
I would say communication skill predominantly.
People skill, I would say, more than
skills.
Communication. People skill would be, yeah. Because you can be a good communicator, but when you talk to people,
you need to be an active listener.
Exactly. Yeah. So
active listening is something that you've been developing as well. So people skills.
Yes.
And the other thing that I want to amend what I say at the beginning, I said like you are a specialist, and the reason why I hesitate is because sometimes I recognize the testers as QAs. And so I was about to say a QA, Arjun is our QA specialist or test specialist. How you recognize yourself? As a test specialist, as a QA specialist?
Yeah, so this can be tricky for people who are not in testing environment. So QA and testing can sometimes be used interchangeably, but actually when you go deep into it, they are two different things. QA is more proactive and testing is more reactive. When I say that, QA, which stands for quality assurance, is like putting a gate and defining the quality standards that will be implemented during the process. It is more like strategic and more management and more into, like, it's not hands-on as testing is. Testing is actually getting into the system and then testing the different features. So a test analyst would be somebody who is going into the system and testing different features and different units of the system, and then finding bugs and then raising Jira tickets on those bugs, and then doing a session with developers to fix those bugs. That is what a test analyst is. A QA would more be like somebody who is defining what the quality assurance would be for this project. In other words, defining the quality guidelines, the gateways, the the test plan that will be approached, the testing approach that will be taken throughout the project. So it's more strategic and more proactive. So it's like more defining first what we need to do, and then testing comes in and does those things. Does that make sense? Yeah. So
yes,
for me,
and for you, depending on the contract.
Yeah, so it depends on the contract. Exactly. So for me, it depends on the contract. On some contracts, I am more on the testing side, where I'm hands-on on the system and doing the manual testing or the API testing, and then logging bugs and Jira tickets. And then some projects, I'm more on the QA side, where I'm defining the quality assurance in this project, and then how the test approach will be taken, how the test planning will be done, and then documenting different testing strategies for the project. So the current project that I'm working on as a test lead, which is more of a QA role than a tester role. Yeah.
Even the name is test.
Even
the name of the role is test
lead.
Yes, but yeah. I was expecting to be a QA lead, so it's confusing.
Yes. Yeah. So again, it can be used interchangeably at in some cases, but yeah, it's sort of same, but still different.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. So now I can say that you are QA and test specialist or lead. So thank you for the clarification. But on that, could you say that the QA role is the role that you will have more exposure to requirement gathering?
Yeah. So
coming back to the topic,
I would not have exposure to requirements gathering at all if there is a dedicated business analyst on the project, because that requirements gathering is something that falls under a business analysis role. But having said that, I have worked on multiple projects where we did not have a dedicated business analyst, and I think at some point in time it comes down to every analyst that they work on a project where the roles are not exactly how the theory says. Like a project needs to have this, a project needs to have this role, a project needs to have, but in reality it sometimes doesn't actually happen, right? So you might end up in a project where you are the tester, but you also need to work on different areas, so you need to put different hats in the project. So so in some of the projects that I worked on, we didn't had a dedicated business analyst, and because of which, as a test lead or a tester, it would be then my responsibility to put on that BA hat and then talk to the business stakeholders to identify what we are actually trying to build, then write the user stories based on that, and then those user stories will define what the developers are actually building and what the testers are actually testing, right? Because the testers need those user stories to test against it. So if the developer says, okay, I've built this login page, you can go in and log in. But if the user story says, let's go back. If a developer has developed a login page and says, okay, this is login page, this is ready, you can test it, right? But as a tester, I don't know what to test. Like, yeah, this is a login page, but what do I test it against? What were the requirements and that I need to make sure that has been satisfied or fulfilled in this implementation?
How the app should behave, for example?
Exactly. So how the app should behave. Now, when it comes to requirements gathering, right, there are two types of requirements that needs to be gathered or elicited. One is functional requirements, the other one is non-functional requirements. Yeah, functional is basically just how the system should behave. Like it tells you functionally what features should do. For example, a login page, if a user goes into the login page and provides the email ID and password and clicks on the login button, then they should be navigated to their homepage or dashboard or whatever page the navigation path defines. So that is a functional requirement. A non-functional requirement in the same flow would be if a user logs in to a login page, clicks on submit, then they should navigate to their homepage within 3 seconds. So that is more of a performance what we are testing. We are not testing whether the login is working or not. We are testing whether the login is working effectively as we want it to. Like, it's not taking too much time. So we are testing the performance of the system here. Another example can be if it is a grocery store, if it is a supermarket website. We are saying that the business wants that the website should be able to accommodate maybe a lot of people logging in at the same time. Okay, but then when it comes to a lot of people, what exactly is the number that says this is a lot? Is it 10,000 people? Is it 100 people? Is it 1,000 people? So that is the load that we are testing. So that is again another non-functional requirement. We are testing whether the website is, so the website functionally is allowing the user to log in. But we are testing whether if 10,000 people log in at the same time, do the website take time, lag, or does it again log in within the 3 seconds or 2 seconds that we have defined? That is the load testing that we are doing. That's another non-functional testing. So it comes to security, performance. So these are the things that fall under non-functional category. So when you requirement elicit or when you gather requirements from business stakeholders, you gather requirements around all of these things, the functional requirements also and the non-functional requirements also. And when the developer develops a feature, then you test those features against the user stories. So again, user stories can be functional or non-functional depending on what requirement they are linked to. And every user story or every requirement needs to link to a business value. What value is it giving, right? So with each user story, we need to define, okay, this user story is satisfying this business value. I'll come to there's one more topic that I want to discuss, which is like, once you have multiple requirements, but once you have multiple requirements, you've gathered all the requirements, but there is a resource limitation or time limitation or something like that. How do you prioritize that? So we'll talk about that. But so far, what do you think? Is it something that is making sense? What are you getting out of it?
I didn't knew about the two type of kind of requirements. And also the thing that I see, like the bigger the organization, more functions that in a small company is done by one person get split into separate roles. So for example, you as a developer, when you hit the job market, sometimes you need to create a website for a company. And for example, sometimes a small company, but they are expecting you to be a UX designer, web developer, peer review, marketing specialist. So you ended up to doing all those functions to be able to create a website, because someone asking you to create the logo, to create the coloring, to create the photograph, and so many other things that sometimes you doesn't have the skills. I feel for me, working in a small business at the beginning of my career, give me that opportunity to learn from accounting to finance to software development, fabrication, deal with the invoices from the providers, account payables, so many things that I thought that any company was like that, but nowadays working for a big corporation, you can see that every function is distributed through roles. That's why I ended up understanding about what a business analyst it was. I thought a business analyst was directly related with data because the name of analyst. But now I also identify that in corporates, analyst is like a role, as a title that they put at the end of many roles, and that is hard to understand. And also the other thing that I learned, that there are technical business analysts and general business analysts. Those technical business analysts, they are more involved on working in architecture, working on the things whole. For example, you have a web app and it will be sitting in this server. From this server, it will go to this secondary server, and you ended up doing pretty much
Yeah.
architecture.
Yeah.
But in the other side, the general business analyst that I see, sometimes they document a lot of the process. For
Yeah.
example, a customer logging into our website, then they should go to this page, then they should flow to here. So finally, they ended up doing like a workflow.
Yeah.
And so here in this step, so I seen business analyst importance going high and low. For
Yeah.
example, there are stages of the company that I see that we have 60 business analysts, but there are other times they say like, you know what, this function, it could be done by the developers.
Yes.
And then they reduce the amount of business analysts, and they realize actually that the developers doesn't want to speak with the stakeholders, or they doesn't want to gather and do some information, or they doesn't have the skills. So
Correct.
they increase the amount of business analysts. So
Yeah.
I think this function is a good skill to have,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's good learning from the one. For example, for someone who's been working as a business analyst for 10 years, you will see there's so much into frameworks, into
Yes.
ways of working. So for me, when I say gathering requirements, it's like having a notepad and make questions to the stakeholders without much a framework, just making question. This is what you want, this is what you're supposed to need. But when I start to work more with business analysts, I saw that they use a framework, like a canvas, and they start to fill it up like a repetitive questions that will help you to address things that could be important. And so I feel if someone has one opportunity to work 1 year or do a secondment for business analyst, will be a great experience for their
100%.
career in general.
Yeah, 100%.
So.
Yeah, and also when it comes to requirement elicitation or business requirement gathering, there are different techniques that are involved. So it's like you said, they have frameworks and stuff. So there are different techniques that business analysts usually take to gather requirements, depending on what the project is, how big the team is, who the key stakeholders are, what is the best way to approach the key stakeholders, where the information is that they want to gather. So some of these techniques can be like a one-on-one interview, right? So for example, if I was in a project where we needed to define the workflow of a system, of a process within a system, right? So say for example, if it's a HRIS system and we want to talk to the HRIS, now covers a lot of things, right? There are different techniques that the business analysts follow, and some of these techniques are like, for example, one-on-one interview. So this is like basically just setting up a time with the stakeholder who you want to get information from. This can be in person, so you book a meeting room, sit together, put your notepad or laptop or whatever, ask questions and get the requirements out of them, what they actually want. Again, dig deep, go as deep as possible, be very thorough, avoid vague or undefined terms. Like for example, it needs to be fast, it needs to be I don't know, quick, or quick and fast is basically same. But what I'm trying to say is avoid anything that is not definable. So try and define
subjective
everything. Yeah, that is subjective. Exactly. Yes, thank you for that term. That is subjective. So yeah, be as thorough as possible, be as detailed as possible, and that is one technique. One-on-one interview. This can be done by Teams call or meeting room and in person. The other technique can be interview but in group. So if it is like multiple key stakeholders working in the same workflow and you want to understand the requirement of the full workflow, then you can set up again a Teams meeting or a in-person meeting with these group of people, and then you can ask the questions to the group. So it's the same as one-on-one, but it's just in a group. Then you have
And
surveys. Yeah.
no, sorry, carry on. Finish that
Yeah.
idea, and then I will ask you something.
Yeah. Then you have surveys. You have shadowing is one. So shadowing is like basically the key stakeholder or the person, the business user or the business person who you want to get information from is working in their day-to-day normal environment, and you are shadowing them and understanding the workflow and then documenting it on your own. So you don't ask questions. You don't. Maybe you do ask questions every now and then just to understand. Okay, what did you do here? Okay, what did this mean? But you're basically shadowing and you are basically observing. So that is one technique that you use. The other one can be, what is the other one? Yeah, I think these are a few, but there are a few more. I think there are, I don't know, 10 more than 10 techniques that you can use. But these are the ones that I generally try to use. Yeah, the other one can be just going in the system, and then if it is a existing system, if it is a change, like we are not implementing anything new, we are just making changes to the existing. It's a brownfield project, and what you can do is you can go through the system, understand the workflows, play around, and then see how everything works, how different pieces of the system work, and then gather information of what you have in front of you. That can be one. And then you can refine these, you can fine tune these, with by talking to different people, by talking to the key stakeholders, the business owners. But initially what you do is you understand the system on your own, and then write down document the requirements accordingly. Yes, you were saying something.
Yeah, I have because of course we're in a data over coffee podcast. So, all right, if I am data analyst or if I'm a BI developer,
Yep.
do you think that what is the best way to interact with the business analyst? I won't be so it's important to have this as a skill. But what about when you work in a big organization and there is a business analyst function? What is the way how I will be interacting with a business analyst?
So I think more than you interacting with the business analyst, I think the business analyst will be interacting with you first.
They will
having
engage
said
in.
that, yeah, having said that, when we start a project, the first thing is the business analyst needs to understand from the business what is actually being built, what is actually being requested by the business, why this project exists, what are we doing. So these questions need to answer. Once the business analyst have all the answers to these questions, then a team meeting will be set up, and then the business analyst will share what information they got from the business with the wider team, which will involve the developers, the data architects and BI developers, the testers, the project manager, and everything, all the key roles, right? So the business analyst will be interacting with the entire team first, and share what they have gathered from the business, and then you can maybe take the conversation forward from there. So if they come up with a requirement or they share a requirement that they got from business, and then you have some queries or concerns about it, or you want to understand it more, then you can talk to the business analyst. Then, okay, this is what you mentioned, this is what we are building. Have we planned on how we are going to do this? Like, have we planned on what the data model will look like, right? So if we are, say, if it is a migration project, so we are moving from a legacy system to a new, implementing a new system, how the data will flow to from legacy to the new one. What does the data model look like? What will the, like, what information will be transferred from the old to the new? What is there any new tables or any new columns that we are introducing, right? Is there anything that we are leaving behind? Is there any information in the legacy system that is not required anymore or not required by the new implementation, and we leave that? How are we leaving it? What is the I don't know, project guidelines around it, like what to do with the stale information that is there in the sitting in the database. So then you can talk to the business analyst about these. If the business analyst has those answers, then that is like a one-on-one communication. If they don't, then they'll probably go back to the business and then understand from the business what the expectation is around your questions. And then they'll come back to you and then they'll say, okay, these are the answers to your questions. This is what you asked. This is what the business has to say about each and every point that you mentioned. So that is, I think, in general how it goes. Yeah, that's in general.
And as a business analyst or during the requirement gathering process, do you use data? And do you do any data analysis during the process? Or is not actually part of something that you do as a business analyst?
For requirement elicitation, generally not, but I would say it depends on project to project, like what project we are working on. So requirement elicitation generally is understanding what the business needs are and then documenting those business needs and then coming to a census that the business agrees with what we have written or documented and how we have prioritized these requirements. So involvement of data is not there at this stage, but again, it depends on project to project. Like I said, if it is a brownfield project, if it is a migration project from legacy to a new implementation, then data is there already, and then there might be a few questions that business analyst needs answers to regarding the data. So they might need to analyze that data first and then go to the business to understand what their expectation is around it. So I think it depends on project to project, but in general, at the requirement illustration stage, data analysis is something that is very rare, I would say. Like to my experience, I haven't seen that, but I might be wrong. There might be projects where data analysis happened at the requirement illustration stage. But having said that, I think even if it has happened, I don't think it'll be the business analyst who will do the data analysis. The business analyst might involve the data architect or the data analyst to do the analysis on their behalf, and then they can ask the questions to the data analyst. Okay, I want this information. Can you help me with that? And then the data analyst digs in the data and then answers those questions. But I don't think the business analyst will directly go and do the data analysis themselves.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's what my experience has been.
Yeah,
but I might be wrong because, like you said, in today's projects, we are wearing multiple hats. So there might be cases where a business analyst needs to act as a data analyst and then dig into the data and then do the data analysis upfront. So that's 100% possible. Yes.
Thank you.
Right.
I would like to summarize the topics that we have reviewed so far.
Yeah. Before we do that, one important concept that I wanted to share today in today's session is Moscow. Have you heard about it?
Moscow, like the city.
Like the city, inspired by the city, but no. So Moscow, MOSCOW, is a prioritization technique that is generally used in prioritizing the requirements. Moscow is a kind of an abbreviation that has been created. So M stands for must-haves, S stands for should-haves, C stands for could-haves, CO stands for could-haves, and W stands for won't-have. Now this is so just to make it easier, make the abbreviation easier, the O after M was added, so that it
just to make it easy to remember.
Yeah, just so it spells Moscow and it's easier to remember, but it's basically just MSCOW, just O after the M, to call it like Moscow. So yeah, Moscow is a prioritization technique which is used in requirements to prioritize what requirements are above the others, in a way, like giving a hierarchy to the requirements. Because when it is a new project, or when it is a change in project, and you are talking to the business and you're gathering their requirements, okay, what do you need, they might be tempted to ask more than you can afford, more than the business can afford. Okay, can I have this, can I have this? That is very common, because if it's an existing system, and me as a user, I'm using this and I'm a big key stakeholder, I might be tempted to say, okay, can we add this feature here, can we add this feature here? you know it's very tempting. So as a business analyst, what I will do is, I will jot down all the requirements that have been given to me. Then, once I have all the requirements and once I have documented all the requirements properly, I will maybe set up a session to prioritize these requirements. Now, projects by nature, they are either time driven or cost driven. So they either need to finish during a certain amount of time, or they either need to finish during a certain amount of budget, or both, right? So that creates a limitation on what can be delivered on and what can't be delivered. So we need to prioritize things, we need to understand, and we need to make the business understand that everything cannot be delivered. And if things are getting delivered, then this is the sequence that they will be getting delivered in, or this is the importance that we have assigned to these requirements. So this prioritization generally is in consultation with the business key stakeholders, with the business users, or the business owners, or the product owners. So the must-haves are features like, these are very critical and they need to exist. They need to have these features in order for the feature or the system to work, or the flow to work. Like, for example, if we stick to our login page example, uh, a login workflow will not work unless there is a login button, right? There needs to be a login button in order for the user to proceed to the next navigation path. So a login button then becomes a must-have requirement, a must-have feature, or a must-have element of the feature, right? We cannot in any way miss that. Some of the other examples can be compliance related features or security related features. These can also be must-haves. Like, we need to comply with the government policy around this. So can be like sharing the data or confidentiality of the data, and what needs to be shared to the end user. So if for example a system is using artificial intelligence, AI, then they need to convey that to the user as a compliance, that these were derived from by using AI. So that is a compliance feature that they need to do it. They can't miss it, because it can create problems in the future. It can create a lawsuit or something. I don't know, but it's a compliance issue. So those are the features that are must have. Then we have the should haves. Second, should haves are good to have, that they will need definitely be implemented, but they are not urgent or they are not critical. The feature or the workflow would still work if they are not implemented in this release. Maybe they can be implemented in the next release. An example can be sticking to the same login workflow, I guess, the forgot password link. Okay, so the user is able to log into the system and navigate to the next path, even if the forgot password link is not implemented yet, right? So a forgot password link is a should have, because we will need a feature if the user forgets their password, but maybe that can be implemented in the next release. Maybe it's not as critical today because it is not blocking the workflow. It is not blocking the user to moving forward. So that is a should have. Could haves are nice to have, right? Now these are not necessarily required, but we'll see if the time allows us, or if the resources allow us, if the cost allows us, we might add them if needed. So they are something that can be missed, but we'll see how we are in the next few releases or something, and if needed, then we can add them later. Otherwise they won't be provided. So they are the could haves. They are nice to haves, but they are not important, right? So this can be, yeah, I don't know, but you get the idea of what the could haves is. The won't haves are explicitly that this is the feature that we will not provide. End of discussion. This is the out of scope feature. Won't haves are out of scope, that we will not implement this at all. That's a won't have. So this is the whole Moscow framework. And once we have prioritized all the requirements as per this Moscow framework, then the business needs to agree on the prioritization, and they need to have come to a consensus that yes, we agree with this prioritization, and then we can move forward, and then the project can be implemented in according to this prioritization approach. That we'll deliver the must-haves, the should-haves, the could-haves, and the won't-haves. Won't-haves won't be delivered because they are out of scope. Yeah. All right. That was the last topic. That is something that I wanted to share.
I didn't remember that you have the last part, but actually I think that the last part was the most interesting for me, because I can see that I can implement it from the next week, because having those kind of frameworks is something really good when you start any work. Because even though that you have a business analyst and then you receive this job from your team leader, now you can ask those questions to your team leaders.
Exactly.
And also in that way you can set expect this, which is so good when you deliver something, because we ended up with something with those endless projects where all those things hasn't been defined. So thank you for that, to sharing this Moscow framework and also your experience.
Yeah, and one thing I realized is that this Moscow approach it's not just related to software development. You can actually implement it in life as well. So if you have 1,000 things to do, prioritize them according to must do, should do, could do, and won't do, and then you can work on your priorities, because that is something that you can actually implement in your life as well. No, it's not just software development. This framework is so great and so strong that you can actually implement it in real life.
Nice. Yeah, no, definitely something that is the same with the agile that probably we'll discuss in one of those sessions. But thank you for that. I think now it's time to close it up. I will do summary, and then you can correct me if it's something that I missed. Okay. So we have reviewed the importance of a business analyst and the requirement gathering, which was that in many companies is a function, in other companies is something that you have to do. Arjun was telling us that there are times that he have to perform this function, and it feels like it's really critical for get the clarity on the project. It's not project management, it's not software development, it's something in the middle to be able to bridge the gap between those two areas. This is the way how I see it and how you explain it. And also Arjun explained us the Moscow framework, which is such a cool framework to put in practice, because we discussed like in any kind of project that you start, even though that the project manager will need to deliver certain things, but if it's the business analyst declare like the must have of the project, the should have, the could have, and the won't have, that it will be so much easier for everyone. It's like to have the picture for everyone that even though that it feels this so cool, that something happens to us as developers that we want to do this, but actually it was in the won't have list.
Correct.
And so that is so good to keep the focus and traction, and I feel has been and really good. So what do you want to add? Sorry, Arjun?
No, nothing. I was just
All
saying
right.
that, yeah, I was just saying your understanding was correct on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That means that I put attention, so checkbox on that. And thank you for that, and to Arjun for this presentation. And I feel like there are certain topics that they are not directly linked with data. However, they are so important when you have a data role. All right. So if you feel that there are times we will be speaking about topics that are not really close to data, however, you as a data professional, you will face those kind of situations all over again. So that is why we have the lucky to have sessions like every 2 weeks to be able to cover different topics. And definitely we put these topics because we thought that there's something that something you don't get taught in the university, those kind of things.
Yeah.
They teach you all the hard skills, but those soft skills are so important. So thank you very much, Arjun. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And thank you everyone for connecting to this new session. As I mentioned to you as well, Arjun will be sharing us probably in the next session what he's doing in his own time to working out. I can share what I'm doing in my personal time as well. So in that way, we can share the projects that we are working on. So thank you very much, everyone.
I can share it. I can share it now.
Okay. All right.
I can share it now. I'm actually working on a budgeting app, because I feel like this has been my personal experience. A lot of budgeting apps, they are either very complicated to understand, and a lot of time people are there's a survey that I've been doing, and what I've seen is people are either using Excel to maintain budgets or just checking their balances in their accounts, and then but that is not a effective way of budgeting and being financially aware of like what choices you can make. And so there's a lot of mental math around budgeting. Like if I want to tomorrow go and buy something, I will have to think in my mind, can I afford it? Like, is it gonna break my bank? I have these many bills coming up in the next 7 days or in the next 10 days, and the pay is only due. I am only due to receive that pay next month. So how will it happen? The bank statement shows that I have this much money, which is, yeah, I can technically, but if I do that, then will I be breaking the bills that are coming up in the future? So those are the things that I want to tackle.
Will be like a bookkeeping and accounting for your own finances.
Exactly. So it's a personal budgeting app that I'm working on, and I'll be sharing more details about it. But the gist of the app is that you don't need to do your mental math. The app does that for you, and it will give you a number that all the bills and everything is taken care of. This is what you can spend. So you just open your app and just see, and that's it. If it gives you. Yeah.
Nice. Sounds really exciting. I think if you're interested in to be in the trial for this app, just put your email send a message to Arjun, and he will put you when this is ready. He will be able to send you an invite to trial and test it out this app. So, thank you everyone.
Yeah. I can actually share the survey link as well. So the more people send the survey.
Put in the description down below.
Yeah. So we'll put it in the description.
Yes, because in that way you can get some traction, and also you can get some more people giving you feedback, because this is how you build an app by the end of the day.
Yeah, but 100%. Let me, if people are watching this, which we really hope you do, but let us know, what do you think about what should be there in a budgeting app? What that will make it easier for you to use and track and be financially wise and be comfortable in your day-to-day spendings, and not think too much and not be guilty about your spends. So that is one thing that I want to tackle.
Yeah. Sound exciting.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Arjun, for this session, and I see you guys in the next one. Thank you again for you to connecting for Data Over Coffee. And if you have any comments, requests for certain topics that we should cover, feel free to message us and we'll be more than happy to cover it in some point in this podcast. Thank you, everyone. Bye, Arjun. See you
Thanks.
later.
Thanks, everyone. See ya. Bye.